Thank you, Pastor Lou. As he mentioned, we've worked together quite a bit over the last year or so, and greatly appreciate his efforts, as now our website is probably one of the best around, I think, as far as Right to Life groups. Of course, obviously there's other more well-financed Right to Life groups, such as Evansville, but for our size group, I think we do pretty good. I want to call your attention to the, well, before I do that, we've got some introductions, some of our elected officials. First of all, from our county offices, I do want to recognize them if they would stand. First of all, our county recorder from Daviess County, Marcella Flynn, please stand. County assessor, Dennis Eaton, might hold your applause. Our county prosecutor, Dan Murray. Sheriff Jerry Harbstrike, if you would stand, all of you. We appreciate you coming from the county. Also, Larry Wilson, our county commissioner. Larry. And our county council, Daviess County, Jack Graber from District 2. And at large, Joanne McCracken. Thank you very much, our county officers that do come out. From the city of Washington, Mayor Joe Wellman is here, along with Karen Brown, the city treasurer, I believe, is here, and one of the councilmen, Eric Basler, from the city of Washington. Thank you very much. From the State House, we have two state representatives here. From District 62, Matt Ubelair. Matt will stand. And also from District 45, Bruce Borders. We appreciate both of you guys coming to the State House. Also representing Mark Messmer is his wife, Kim, is here tonight. Kim Messmer, appreciate. Also from, understand some that's running for school board at Washington, Vicki Bubalo is here. Vicki, if you'd stand. I think I saw her. And county recorder, I think is what they have, Jamie Chapman, she here. Must have missed one. Jamie. On the state level, again, representing Richard Murdoch, who's running for U.S. Senate, Cindy Lamar. Cindy? You remember last year, Richard was here, and Richard's been a very strong pro-life advocate, so we wish him the best in his run for U.S. Senate. Also from the 8th District, congressional candidate, Democrat Dave Crooks is here. Dave? And also our present Congressman, Congressman Larry Bucshon, is here. And I thought it was fitting that since he is a sitting congressman, that we would give him an opportunity, a couple of minutes, to express his appreciation here to the group. So, Larry?
Thank you. He only gave me about 30 minutes, so I'll try to speed it along. It's really an honor and privilege to be here tonight and to represent the 8th Congressional District. Prior to being in Congress, I was a surgeon. And one of the surgeries I did was on premature babies that are about this big, as young as 22 weeks gestation. And it's almost unbelievable to me that some in Washington would still favor ending even these precious lives at that late date. That's why elections are so important. I've been endorsed by the state and national Right to Life. And in Congress, I have a 100% voting record on Right to Life issues. And you can count on me to maintain that record. So thank you. So it's, again, an honor and a privilege to be here and to represent the 8th Congressional District. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Also, a couple, I failed to recognize the Executive Director of the Pregnancy Care Center, Mickey McCullough. I think Mickey's here. Please stand. Mickey has worked with the Pregnancy Care Center for many years and works tirelessly for that, so we greatly appreciate her efforts. And also from Evansville Right to Life, I think it's, I think they call it Southern Indiana Right to Life now. Mary Ellen Van Dyke, I think she's here. Mary Ellen, we appreciate you coming up. Each year, Daviess County recognizes the, on our banquet, by the way, our banquet booklet, I do want to call your attention to it. I want to thank the many that have bought ads in the banquet booklet, those that helped to sell the ads, all the businesses, people that's bought memorial ads in the book. We greatly appreciate, this is a fundraiser for us, and we greatly appreciate it. So thank you very much. And also, I do want to call your attention to the picture on the front cover of the book. This is our adoptive child. Each year we honor one of the area adoptive children. And this year, if you guys want to come ahead up, Leslie and Jason. Each year, we honor one of the adoptive child in order that we might stress how important adoption, not abortion, really is. Not very many people realize that there is so many people that have been cleared to adopt children, but there's no available children to adopt. And I think this couple was very fortunate in their situation. And I'm going to let, by the way, this is Dr. Jason Omer, Dr. Leslie Starr Omer, if I get this right, and their daughter, Brenna. So I'm going to start off by letting Leslie explain exactly how this all came about and give us an idea. So Leslie, I'll turn the mic over to you.
Thank you. It is truly a privilege for us to be here today and to share our story, and you may be entertained in more ways than one. Oh. Well, well, Louis asked us to share our story after he heard us last fall at the Pregnancy Care Center banquet. We talked in detail about how we adopted Brenna and how we became a family and how it was completely a God thing. There's just really no other way on earth that all the factors could have so beautifully fallen into place without God being a factor in it. So I'm going to say that again tonight, and hopefully I'll be a little bit more brief. But I still want to give you the whole complete picture of what happened. Jason and I were married for 10 years, and we had no children, obviously. It was intentional at first, as we were both beginning our careers, and we were both focused on building two separate practices. But after 10 years, it was not so intentional. So we knew what our medical options were at that point, and as many of you know, both of us are chiropractors. So I would say our belief system is probably a little bit different than a majority of couples out there. Infertility treatments just didn't feel like the right choice for us. So, to clarify, we've seen many families, many couples, even some of our friends that have been completely blessed by enduring the whole fertility route, but it just seemed at total odds to what our beliefs were. So here was professionally, every day in our office, we help, we serve people, we try and teach them, the body is self-healing, self-regulating, basically just trust your body. So stepping outside of that paradigm and trying to kind of artificially control and to harshly intervene just seemed like a huge contradiction to us. So in my mind as a woman, I just felt like it would be doomed to fail even before we were to start. So we prayed, as we had been doing for what seemed like forever already. And our strongest option was definitely adoption. And there were so many barriers there too, because it's just not an easy situation or a simple situation no matter how it's done. But again, we kept praying. And I remember at some point Jason saying, we just have to put this in God's hands. And I guarantee he got the biggest eye roll at that point, because it was truly testing my faith. Things stayed the same for quite some time, and there were really no breakthroughs. In my head, I started trying to form a picture, a future for us without children. And my heart wasn't, but in my head, I was trying to logically kind of put that picture in place. As I was trying to make sense of things and kind of rationalize that maybe there was a purpose in all of it, I had a conversation with a girlfriend of mine. She was also a chiropractor, so she could kind of relate to my standpoint. And, I said, I have this amazing gift that I can offer kids in my office as I adjust them. And I felt good thinking that, because it is powerful what you can do for kids through chiropractic. And I thought, well, maybe that's God's plan for me. Maybe not one child, but maybe a community of children that I can love and adjust and see the miracles and help the families, and maybe I'll be fed in that way. My motherly instinct could be fulfilled, in that matter, which is really not exactly how I intended, but still a cool thing. I know Jason and I talked many times, we're just going to make it a deliberate choice to be the coolest aunt and uncle in the world. And although at the time all my nieces and nephews were in Nebraska, we talked about travel, and we thought, well, we can travel the world, have fun, see different cultures. You really can't do that as easily with kids, right? So, again, we were just trying to rationalize, and then the pivotal moment happened. And it was actually right on the heels of a trip to New York City for us. We had spent a long weekend at one of our favorite places. And always Mondays are fairly busy in both the offices, but we came back from New York City after a long weekend, and of course it was a very busy and demanding day for both of us. I remember walking in the door that evening and Jason eagerly awaiting me. And I know I didn't even get my purse set down before he said, I was asked today if we were interested in adopting a baby. And it literally took less than 2 seconds for me to process that question and say, well, you said yes, right? I said, you said yes, yes. And he, being the wonderful husband that he is, he said, well, I didn't say anything. I told her I had to talk to you first. And I was like, say yes. So, we quickly discussed what the details were that we knew at that point, which basically was, there was a teenager that was pregnant. The person who approached him, it was actually her relative, and that she was considering adoption. And that's basically all we knew. So, of course, very quickly that evening, we made the call. And a few weeks later, we met Brenda's birth mother and her birth grandmother for the first time. I immediately empathized with her, and I think she cried through the entire first visit, and I grew very fond of her very quickly. We had an open relationship through the last few months of her pregnancy, so lots of emails, lots of phone calls, all kinds of updates. We met for lunch, and we took her out to dinner. At some point, I went on a shopping trip with her because she was a teenager, and I knew very conscious of her pregnancy, so I wanted her to have cute little maternity clothes and feel good about herself. I even had the honor and privilege of going to one of her doctor's appointments with her, so that was thrilling for me from my standpoint. Through our relationship, I actually started a journal for Brenna, and who we were so completely in love with already at that point. Like, she was our daughter. And I wanted her to know a lot about what I learned from her birth mother, but I also wanted her so strongly to know how God had amazingly orchestrated her life even before she was born. And I continue to add to that journal to this day because I think there's a lot of realizations that happen even over her 4 years that start to kind of unfold as I look back in hindsight. For example, one of them, actually the fall of 2007, I went to a women's retreat. And on our drive home, I had a couple friends in the car, and we were pouring out our hearts, which basically means we were crying. And it was about babies and children. And I know I was crying so hard that I wasn't even able to speak, but my girlfriend, Kim, she started to pray. And she was a driver, too, which is interesting. We're driving down the road, and she's praying, and I'm crying. And she prayed for babies and for contentment and just for God's will. And I remember that so clearly, but it wasn't until Brenna was about 2 years old, and I was looking back, and Brenna was 2, and my friend, who at the time, she was wanting another child as well, and I was just praying for Brenna. But at the time, Brenna was 2, and I figured out all these details. My girlfriend actually had a 1-year-old, too. So God definitely answered both of our prayers. And at that time, in the fall of 2007, it actually would have been exactly the time that Brenna would have been conceived. So it's amazing how God puts things into place. But anyway, we got a call on a Sunday night that the labor was actually beginning. So we were only a couple hours away from the hospital, and we immediately left for the hospital. We stayed the night as she labored, and we were able to interact with the birth mother through the whole process. The birth family was very welcoming to us, so we were very fortunate there, and even some of her teenage friends who were there to support her. The staff, the nurses, they were all awesome. And I think it was a pretty rare situation for them, but they let us be involved in every detail, and they kept us informed. And basically, we were already considered Brenna's parents. Then at 1:04 the next day, Brenna was actually born by C-section. About 5 minutes later, they actually brought her to us, and I remember Nurse Ann saying, you know, here's your daughter, which was such beautiful words to us. I mean, such a defining moment. The hospital actually allowed us to room in with Brenna, too. We were pretty much taking care of her 24/7, and we stayed for the first 48 hours before we were able to take her home. Every person involved, again, was just incredible, from the nurses to the pediatricians, the social workers, the lawyers, Judge Smith. I mean, they all just bent over backwards to make the situation just go as smoothly as possible. So we were very blessed by that. Then our adoption was finalized on September 30th, 2008. And Brenna was just a few months old at that point. Many people always comment on Brenna's resemblance to us. Like she has daddy's eyes, or she has mommy's hair, the crazy curls. And again, that's just an affirmation to us that, you know, God had a plan. And I think some people actually think you fill out a form or a checklist, like blue eyes, freckles, proficient at math, whatever it may be. And I think, honestly, I probably thought that at some point myself, but that's totally not the reality of the situation. And again, you know, we just firmly believe that God had such a plan in motion. And Brenna knows, you know, we always say God made her extra special. And, of course, you can see how incredible she is. And for me, when I see how special, how unique, just how amazing she is, I can't help but think, you know, what if a different decision would have been made in the beginning? And what if every single person involved in the whole process wouldn't have done exactly what God called them to do? Like, all of our lives would be so completely different. And then I don't even let myself go there. I just always shift gears and go to my complete gratitude for just the way things have worked out for us. I do have to say, I really appreciate my many, many, many years of unanswered prayers. I feel like I can look back now, and I can see how my unanswered prayers help make me the mother that I am today. So I am thankful for that. And I tell Brenna every day, you know, I'm so thankful that I get to be your mommy. And every night, that's our prayer. You know, thank you, God, for making us a family. But honestly, there are times when I do feel a little bit guilty for when I used to want to be pregnant so badly, and I would see those pregnant teenagers or those unplanned pregnancies, and I would think to myself, you know, why would God do that? Why? And now it's like I can so clearly see how many possibilities, how many blessings, and how many answered prayers are in every single pregnancy. So to me, that's why. We really want to acknowledge the Right to Life, of course, and even places like the Pregnancy Care Center for just their help in helping all pregnant women. And we're so grateful for the work of people like all of you that are out there, you know, people whose belief systems honor every child that God has created, and people who work endlessly to educate and share their views, knowing that every single connection they make can potentially save a little life. I guess my message personally, too, is I want to make it known to all those young pregnant women out there that they're looking for loving options. You know, there's never going to be a shortage of loving couples or loving families out there. It just is not going to happen. And we're just so thankful that Brenna's birth mother and her family could see the blessing in making such a bold and a loving and selfless decision. I pray for Brenna's birth mother still, and I pray that someday maybe she can be an impressive advocate, maybe just a pro-life advocate or one of adoption, because of the experience that she's been through as well. So I hope all of you know how much of an impact you can be, whether this is your work, whether this is your mission or your purpose, or even if you're just one of those who just simply pray for the unborn child. It's a tremendous impact, and there's so many, many, many lives that can be changed just by saving one in the beginning. I know that words cannot express to us our overwhelming gratitude. So, thank you.
Good job. Hold on. You see why I turned the microphone over to her? Because, okay, you two, congratulations, you three. The centerpiece on the table is donated by Back Porch Flowers. That is our gift to you for sharing the story tonight. And again, we congratulate you on this, and we appreciate very much you sharing your story with us. And we wish you the very best Do you have anything to say, Jason? She said it all. Okay. Very good. Congratulations, guys. There's a lot of interesting stories out there, and of course, get my notes here. I have another group here that I'd like to acknowledge. The Stepping Stones Prison Ministry is there's a group of people that's here tonight. It's a not-profit organization helping incarcerated women with newborns, taking care of their babies until they're released from prisons. Babies are placed in the homes that are screened by a board of directors, and the babies are then taken to the prison once a month for the visits. An aftercare program is planned for the near future and will help inmates after they are released. If for some reason that the mothers are unable to care for their unborn babies, caregivers will adopt. And this group, I'd like for them to stand. I think there's probably about 22 that's here. They've adopted, I think the third one's in the process of adoption at this time. One's in guardianship. Would this group please stand up? I know they're here. There's... I know one of the couples, I think it's Linda and Delmer, right? I had talked to them at different times, and I know that the judge, as he was ruling on the case up there, he expressed his appreciation to them for what they do. This is a ministry that, needs it, because some of these women are encouraged to have an abortion when they're in prison. And, there's some bad situations, but it's kind of like you don't kill the child for the sin of the mother. Or like rape, kill the sin because of the sin of the father. I mean, there's always people that's willing to take these children. So my hat's off to you. I think Joe Peanut Knepp, I think he's been in charge of this, and I did not know until talking to him the other day that they were having trouble at the beginning, but a phone call to Mark Messmer, and he was able to, State Representative Mark Messmer, and he was able to open the doors where they were able to further their cause. So on behalf, of the people, we want to express our appreciation to you for what you're doing, and we want to wish you the very best. Keep it up. Each year, the Right to Life presents a pro-life award. We've already done that. There's a member from Martin County Right to Life who's worked in the organization for over 30 years, and this individual has worked not only in the organization as treasurer. He's worked as at fair booths, paper drives, at different festivals. He's wrote letters to the editors, worked for pro-life candidates. He doesn't want to share in the limelight. So we honored that. His brother talked to us. And last night when we were setting up, we gave him the pro-life plaque. And, of course, it's Edward Allen McAtee, and tonight he's working in the booth up there, taking care of the sound system. So I think he deserves a round of applause. I know he won't come out to acknowledge it, but... Okay. Before we introduce the speaker, on your placemats there's a voter guide that we put together from Daviess County, and this voter guide was put together with the different races. The endorsements are made by the Indiana Right to Life Political Action Committee, not Daviess County, but and these endorsements are not made lightly. They're made by candidate surveys, their past statements on abortion, voting records by the incumbent, and it calls attention to, there's several issues, not only abortion, but stem cell research, euthanasia, and other related life issues. There's a lot of people, this sign right up here, please vote pro-life. And in the fall election, every election we have, it seems like it gets ratcheted up. It's more important every year. And the importance this year cannot be more so, especially on the national level. I mean, Indiana also has a very important Senate race here, too. But But on the national level, as far as the president will appoint judges to the Supreme Court, federal appointments, I mean, any number of things, and it is so important. So remember when you vote. There's a lot of people that when they get in office, they say they vote pro-life, but do they vote for judges after they get in? Whether there's a Senate candidate, do they vote for judges that are pro-abortion? Maybe they are appointed. That's what happened. That's what got Senator Richard Lugar in trouble. He voted for too many pro-abortion judges. And, you know, they can say that, you know, that people turned on him, but at the same time, I mean, it was unfortunate, but there's so many different things that, you know, we can be hurt in the pro-life movement. And that's what happened. But what I like for everybody to do is remember, when you vote for someone, remember, will that individual be voting for someone of their, like, on the national level, will they be voting for a Speaker of the House that's pro-abortion, or will they be voting for the head of the Senate that may be pro-abortion? So remember who you vote for. And as I say, this voter guide that we have, it was done by the Indiana Right to Life. I mean, the endorsements were. So I ask you to, you know, look them over carefully. And you know, there's a lot of churches that, you know, don't want to get involved in this. But you know, if the pastors do not get involved, what do we end up? It's just like what happened back in Germany, maybe before World War II. When they didn't say anything, look what happened. So, and by the way, pastors have every right to tell your congregation who supports the life issues and who don't. You cannot endorse a candidate or give the appearance of an endorsement, but you can tell your congregation who supports life and who does not. So I know we have some great pastors here that are not afraid to speak their mind, and God bless you. We appreciate that. So in closing on that issue, please remember, always vote pro-life, because the lives of these little ones are depending on you. And as I mentioned, Indiana, in this U.S. Senate race, could be that key state, a key state in which we take over in the Senate and have a pro-life, a leader in the Senate that will not kill all our pro-life bills. So, all right, I'll get off my soapbox.